Yo, what's going on YouTube and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's Kevin Forte and today we are continuing our season previews, taking a look at the Ottawa Senators. So there's a lot of controversy around this team and where they might end up this season. Is this a playoff team? Are they not a playoff team? It's going to be a pretty highly contended conversation going into this season and throughout the season. It's in its entirety. I think it's going to be down to the wire, but I do have my take on the Ottawa Senators, so we'll get to that in this video. So let's take a look at some of the departures for the Ottawa Senators. There wasn't a huge list, but it's worth mentioning Alex DeBrincat. DeBrincat's a huge piece that is no longer with this franchise. He ended up going elsewhere, did not want to sign long-term in Ottawa. So that is kind of the story there. We also saw a couple of big guys coming into the organization. Vladimir Tarasenko, Dominic Kubalik, just to name a few. A couple of pretty big guys coming into the organization. Jonas Korpisalo signed a massive 5-year deal in Ottawa. So the Senators think they've got that tandem now with Korpisalo and Anton Forsberg. Let's see if it'll pay off this season. That one could really come back to bite them in the you-know-where, but it could also come back and really help them out and end up being the difference whether they make the playoffs or not here going into 2024. All right. What else do we have to get to? All right, so rookies. So there is a pretty good list here of guys that I think could make this team out of camp. And again, this is all just thought. It's not a guarantee that these guys make this team, but these are the guys that I'm looking at the very least. Not technically a rookie, but Igor Sokolov has only played 13 games in the National Hockey League, so keep an eye out for him. He's 23 years old. He is listed as an RFA still, so we'll see what happens there. Keeping an eye on guys on the back end, you got Jake Sanderson. We saw what he could do. He's going to continue to do what he does this season. Jacob Bernard-Docker, we've been waiting a while to hear his name. He's been playing in Belleville. Hopefully he gets his real opportunity this season. Guys that I hope make the roster that might not. Robbie Urventi is definitely one I'm watching for. Ridley Gregg is a very highly touted prospect. A lot of teams have wanted him from the Ottawa Senators over the last couple of years. He played 20 games with them last season, did really well in the AHL with Belleville, so that's definitely a guy I'm watching for. Lassie Thompson, definitely the expectations have changed for him a little bit. His numbers have not been all that impressive, but in the AHL he has produced, so I think it's just kind of acclimating to the NHL. That's really the big thing for Lassie Thompson to keep an eye on. In terms of their line combinations, it kind of is showing that there's going to be a team with a mix of young players and older players, which is a good thing because that means we could see that transition to what this team is hoping to become, which is a playoff team. So that leads me to my breakout player, and I just talked about if the Rangers bring in Brendan Ottman, and he is an active member on this team, he could be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Ridley Gregg is along those lines as well. The only problem I have for Ridley Gregg is I don't think he's as big of a point guy. He's not going to be leading the NHL in terms of rookie points, but he is going to be a high impact player. And a lot of people have compared him a lot to what we're seeing with a guy like Tom Wilson. And I just say that name alone and you're probably thinking different things. And it's a pain in the neck when he's not on your team. You love that player when he's on your team. That's going to be the storyline for Ridley Gregg. And I really expect a lot from this guy. He is my breakout player, one of my breakout players for this season. And you consider the idea he's going to play with a guy like Shane Pinto and Dominic Kubalik. That could be a second line on a lot of teams in the NHL. So the fact that's your third line, definitely spoiled there for Ridley Gregg. One of the better third lines in the NHL going into this season. I'm a huge fan of that. And then looking at the defense has definitely continued to get better. Shabbat, Chikrin, Sanderson, Brandstrom, all pretty good guys. Zub and Hamonic are they gave you a good season last year. Can they do that again? That's what they're hoping for. And, of course, the goaltending, which is my biggest contention here. You've got Jonas Korpisalo and Forsberg. If that tandem can hold up and do what they need to do and be a good, competent goalie tandem, the sky's the limit for the Ottawa Senators. And staying healthy, of course. They are going to start this season, though, without Anton Forsberg and Josh Norris. They're both on injured reserve. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll call up one of the young goalies like Mads Sogard or Kevin Mandolese. We'll see what happens, but They do have some injuries here, and that could be a problem to start the season. And like I said, the margin for error is so small, and if we see maybe a month of Josh Norris out and he's not there in October, that could be the difference in February and March, whether they make the playoffs or not for April. So, again, looking way too far ahead, but this is a team that I think is very capable of making the playoffs. And it's really, to me, I think Detroit is up and coming, but there is going to be a gap between Buffalo and Ottawa. And it's enough to where I think Ottawa will be that team that gets in. Because Buffalo, unless their goaltending completely goes off this season with Devin Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I think the Ottawa Senators have better goaltending than Buffalo. And the margin for error between those two teams and the gap in terms of skill between Buffalo and Ottawa is so slim. And I have to do a video probably on those two teams because, the gap between them in that division, it's definitely going to create a rivalry, especially as they continue to come up. I'm really excited for that first matchup between those two teams. But I think Ottawa's got the more experience. They have a little bit more skill. And I know that Ali Desh, shout out to Ali Desh, he'll be very happy to hear that. I think the Ottawa Senators make the playoffs. I have my prediction at 40 to 45 wins, 90 to 95 points. They're going to be in that same category with the Buffalo Sabres, with the New York Islanders, and Pittsburgh, and even maybe Washington, depending on what happens with the Caps. I'm gonna give the Ottawa Senators the benefit of the doubt. They're gonna snag one of those wild card spots, and I have them making the playoffs here in 2024. So there you go, Senators fans. I think you'll be pretty happy with that. And I think this is the year. I think this is the year they finally get back in. So, guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think down below. What do you think of the Ottawa Senators? Do you think they're a playoff team in 2024? Or do you think they're going to have to keep waiting out just a little bit longer? They're definitely going to be making strides this season. And considering they had 85 points last year, they're going to build on that this season. Just a matter of how much. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.